Something that has come up with our readers a lot over the past year about the people who are most at risk are the people who are not participating. We had a story this year about an Air Force family where the child died of neglect and malnutrition during a deployment. Of course, our spouses were really upset about this. But what got me was all the helping professionals that contacted us who said, we have everything to offer and we can't get people to come in. I didn't know what to say to that because we see the same thing everywhere about non-participation. Can you tell me what the Army's doing to try to bring people back in person?
Yeah, well, I can't speak for the Army. I can speak for the Army Reserve. At least I think I can. In the Army Reserve, at the end of the day, you can have a gazillion programs. You can have money from the sky. You can do anything and everything. But if you can't get positive contact with that soldier and their family member to know what's going on, it don't matter. That's the point you're making. And so, other than putting an all-point bulletin out on Jeff Talley, who's missing drills, or we think there's something wrong through whatever source of intel we may get, the only other thing we can do is, and as our major has said it very well to our formations, and that is getting back to this. We got to get past this idea that somehow I'm invading your privacy if I really know who you are and what you are. And in the Army Reserve, and I would suspect it's true in the National Guard, that means we got to know what's going on with the employer. We got to know is everything okay in your family life with respect to finances, with respect to the employment? Do we have an issue that Rebecca, I think it was, just brought up over here, where the unit is part of the problem because they're drilling the heck out of this guy or gal? But if we don't make that positive contact, then it doesn't matter. So the only thing I can say is, what I try to do is say, and maybe this isn't a good analogy, but the most important meeting you have in a division in combat is a target-ears meeting. At least that was my opinion. Okay, because you're competing for resources. So I've used that analogy in the Army Reserve. So we have a target meeting, but the target meeting is a good meeting. It's a meeting where we're trying to identify, and if we can identify the soldier because we haven't seen a lot of them, or there's just some sort of sense that maybe something's not right, or just randomly call employers. I actually do that, by the way. I will randomly call an employer or a spouse. I know Linda does it a lot more than I do, just to check in and see how things are going. I'll send random letters out to employers to find out how is that Army Reserve soldier okay in their organization. Other than just that personal human effort, I don't think you can't BlackBerry or iPhone this thing. You've got to have that leadership. It's got to be that face-to-face. It's got to be this sort of leadership that we used to do, and I think we still do in our Army. But I will just make a commitment to you. I'm convinced, again, I'm 120 days in the job, so I'm still drinking my own Kool-Aid. I'm convinced if you join the Army Reserve, I will make you a better family member. And I will make you more marketable in the private and public sector. And if I don't, then you need to get the heck out of the Army Reserve. But I'll make you more marketable, and I'll make you a better family member, because we will help you balance your life. We will help you through the challenging points, as well as get you the type of experiences you need to be the best and the brightest, both in your civilian employment and in your family members. And that's what I tell folks. You're not any use to me as a soldier if you're a number 10 husband or number 10 spouse or a bad employee. You got to be the best and the brightest in your employment and in your family in order to even have a chance of being a decent Army Reserve soldier. So I don't have a silver bullet for you, I'm sorry, but that's the best I could do.
I think we're talking about basic leadership. Everything happens at the company level. Company commander is the only person that owns a formation that can stand everyone up and look them in the eye. When you get above that level of command, you have large formations and you can't really know everyone. But at the company level, the company commander, the first sergeant, really knows his people as well as squad leaders and platoon sergeants. So it's personal contact, exactly what General Talley was talking about, and building a command climate that makes it okay to say I need help, and understanding that family members have a role in this as well, and building a family readiness group that actually does something and is engaged, And if you build it's kind of build it and they'll come. And it really works that way. If you've got something that's interesting, if you've got people that have similar experiences, especially for a mobilization, but you can do that with training events as well. And it's building the family atmosphere, if you will. I don't think I've ever used that analogy before, but it really is building a family atmosphere so that people care about the guy on your left and right. You definitely do when you're in the fight. Soldiers absolutely care about the person on their left and right, and the camaraderie and the teamwork really gets quite intense. So you can do that after the fight or before the fight as well.
All right, sir, if I can pile on to that. It's, a lot of discussion this past year for us has just been about what General Talley talked about. It's NCO leadership. It's NCO leadership being there because, again, we see our soldiers traditionally one weekend out of a month. And so there's a lot of excuses out there that, it's good enough to send an email to a soldier or to their family members, and that's not the answer. And that's very weak. Because even though if we're geographically dispersed and I live in Tampa, Florida, and my unit's in Orlando, Florida, and I can't maybe put eyes on that soldier, I can pick up a phone and talk to that soldier. And then when they come in at a battle assembly, as opposed to scattering to the winds, it's up to that squad leader, first line leader, to pull that soldier together or those soldiers together under a tree and have some face time, looking them in the face to say, first off, we're going to have an accountability formation, and then we're going to talk and see how you're doing and what's happening in your lives. And then part of that is we're going to talk about what's going to happen during this battle assembly. And then at the end when you leave, we're going to follow up with a call to make sure that when that soldier then leaves and drives back from Orlando to Tampa, Florida, that soldier made it home safe. And that's the start of it, because then the soldier knows that their leadership cares. Not that after that formation is over, I don't see you again until next month. It starts with involved leadership. And it starts with that first line leader, like General Talley said and General Ingram, is getting in our soldiers' face. And it's not about invading their privacy. It's our job to do that as NCOs. And that's what we've got to continue to stress, and that's what we're continuing to do with the NCO Corps. We've just got to fine-tune it. We've got to get our eyes back on point again.